Hello and welcome. You're watching UATV News with me, Ksenia Bugay. First, this hour, COVID-19 hits another anti-record in Ukraine. 4,027 people have been infected over the past day. Meanwhile, recovered Ukrainians set a positive record. 2,110 patients have successfully recovered in the past 24 hours. 64 people died of virus complications. Most new cases are reported in Kharkiv, Donetsk and Dnipro regions.
I urge you to pay attention to compliance with the rules that are established in the country. It is in your power to ensure abidance by these rules. We're not talking about any policy now. We are not talking about any election and pre-election processes. We are talking only about the health and lives of our citizens.
Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine has been closed for quarantine. The deputies decided not to hold plenary sessions until the end of October. Today, parliamentarians voted for urgent documents. Our correspondent knows what decisions they managed to approve and when they plan to return to their parliamentary work.
Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine considered the so-called local elections in the annexed Crimea as illegitimate. 276 people's deputies voted for the relevant resolution. The self-proclaimed authorities of the annexed peninsula held an illegal vote on 13th of September. These elections violate the constitution and laws of Ukraine, as well as the norms of international law. The so-called elections in the annexed Crimea haven't been recognized for the world community. Crimean citizens voted against the self-proclaimed governor and false local authorities. There hasn't been such a low turnout in the entire history of the occupation of Crimea and Sevastopol, and I think this is a signal to the Putin regime that there cannot be any election in these conditions of occupation. MPs voted for some urgent bills. In the first reading, a simplified procurement procedure for election commissions in local elections has been adopted. They also refused to monetize the baby boxes. The assistance to young parents will again be granted to them in the form of children goods kits. In addition, the deputies adopted in the second reading a bill on the safety and quality of donated blood. This issue will be controlled by a special body, and all inspections will be carried out according to European standards.
Currently, 2,500 people in Ukraine are infected with HIV and hepatitis. In Europe, if there are 5 cases, it is an emergency situation for the whole country. The blood is safe there. If Ukraine aspires to become a part of Europe, then we must have safe blood. Currently, the blood is not tested by international standards. We use outdated equipment and outdated tests.
In the nearest future, Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine is not going to convene for plenary sessions. The MPs decided to put the lawmaking body on quarantine due to the outbreak of coronavirus within the parliament. A large number of people got infected by the coronavirus in the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, up to 10 people during the last few days. MPs will continue to work in committees, factions and groups. This can be done online. The next plenary meeting is scheduled for October 20. The draft of the state budget for 2021 will be examined in the first reading. Until then, the people's deputies have the right to gather for extraordinary meetings only. Reported by Nick Starkov, UATV News.
Tanks, multiple launch rocket systems and infantry fighting vehicles that are banned under the Minsk agreements have been discovered by the OSCE mission in the territories of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, temporarily not controlled by Ukraine. Full and comprehensive ceasefire in Donbass came into force on July 27th.
Aerial imagery available to the Special Monitoring Mission revealed the presence of 4 weapons in violation of withdrawal lines and 119 weapons beyond withdrawal lines, but outside designated storage sites, all inside training areas in non-government-controlled areas of both Donetsk and Luhansk regions.
Information about the engine failure of the AN-26 aircraft, which crashed on September 25th in the Kharkiv region, doesn't match reality. The investigation does not preclude a terrorist attack. Meanwhile, the experts assured that the DNA examination for the identification of the bodies will be completed in a few days. Respectively, the victims of the plane crash may be buried this week.
The investigation does not reject any of the versions that are now heard in the media. In order to conduct an objective pre-trial inquiry, a technical examination is currently underway. Based on its conclusions, the versions will be clarified, and an appropriate comprehensive military expertise will be appointed. The issue of organizing blast assessment study, which will be entrusted to the relevant experts, is underway. After its results, we will also clarify our versions.
Almost 40,000 Belarusians from 102 countries have filed an appeal against Alexander Lukashenko. They called on the International Court of Justice in The Hague for opening a criminal case against brutal suppression of peaceful protests. Meanwhile, Ukraine will start to call Alexander Lukashenko by his first and last names only, without specifying his occupation. The official reference to the politician will take effect starting from November 5th, when his presidential powers expire.
These are great wordings for the media, for headlines, for Facebook posts, but the official position is Alexander Lukashenko.
Almost 5,000 Belarusians have arrived in Ukraine since the beginning of the protests in their home country. Before the start of the rallies against Alexander Lukashenko, nearly 10,000 Belarusians got a permanent residence permit in Ukraine and 3,000 received a temporary one. Every single day, more and more Belarusians arrive in Ukraine.
People are obliged to leave Ukraine after the period of 90 days stay. They simply do not have time to solve the most urgent problems within this time frame. Ukrainian legislation stipulates very strict conditions for foreigners who want to get legally employed. The employer is obliged to pay a substantial amount of money for each foreigner. It makes a major obstacle for employing specialists officially. People want to work here.
A person who needs additional protection, not a political refugee, this has to be properly formalized in a way of establishing a special legally approved document. If such a document is created, and we are considered relevant with such terminology, and this leads to issuing a work permit for us, then this will be great. 33 adopted kids and 25 grandchildren. The Mokhnenko family resides in the outskirts of eastern Ukrainian city of Mariupol. Gennady and Olena adopted their first kid more than 25 years ago. Every kid has a difficult story of struggle in the past. Our correspondent has visited the family.
Kids are the pillar of our strength. They call him dad and always listen to his advices. Gennady has 7 daughters and 29 sons. Romko is the 33rd one. It's been 2 years since we had adopted him. We brought him right from his mother's gravestone. Many of children in Mokhnenko's family have grown up living in different cities and countries. Today they keep close connections with their parents. Last winter, together we decided to collect all letters to our father and make this album. Quite a number of them used to live the life of a tramp. They took alcohol or drugs, but in this family they got lucky to feel what parental love is. When I first arrived in Poland, I nearly burst into tears because I had never felt this happy before. Either build a house or travel, study or make preparations for family holidays, they do everything together. They set up a joint ski trip in winter. Bicycle rides or conquering mountain peaks are planned for summer. I'm not sure how people should train themselves for cold, but every morning father wakes us up and we got to dive in the pool, no matter what the season is, even in winter. Gennady Mokhnenko himself grew up in a troubled family where he lacked attention. So when he grew up, the man decided to devote himself to saving lives of kids suffering from similar problems. We love you so much, Daddy. It's priceless for me. The Mokhnenko foster family has already raised athletes, composers, volunteers, constructors, doctors, and ordinary compassionate people. What will be the role model for your family? I'd like to see the one like this, having healthy and kind relations with no physical abuse, and also I'd like to adopt some kids. Today the Mokhnenko's family is preparing to adopt 2 more teenagers. The documents are already being processed. Reported by Nick Starkov for UATV News.
A prolonged quarantine and cancellation or postponement of competitions caused by the coronavirus pandemic, this is a new reality for athletes all over the world. Greco-Roman wrestlers were preparing to perform at the Ukrainian Championship in Odessa in October, but the competition has been postponed. Our correspondent knows how athletes of one of the most masculine disciplines keep fit.
Vitaly Andreevich, two-time winner of the European Youth Championships, demonstrates his favorite technique, an armpit dive. With such method, he defeated a lot of rivals. He says that the main disadvantage of quarantine is the almost complete absence of competition.
For example, if last year there were about 12-14 stars during the year, then this time there are only 3 or 4. This is a very big minus. All the wrestlers have almost lost their experience.
The Olympic medal is Vitaly's dream. For the next games in Tokyo, Jean Belenyuk has already won a license in his weight category, 87 kilograms.
Well, if everything goes well in the Verkhovna Rada, maybe I will be able to start. I think we will do our best in preparing for the next time.
Vitaly's coach Andrei Kalashnikov knows from his own experience how difficult winning an Olympic medal is. At the 1996 Atlanta Games, he got a bronze medal for Ukraine. Now he dreams of rising another champion as a coach.
At present, it's harder for the young athletes to fight than it was previously. You know, the level of wrestling has grown a lot all over the world. This is a lot of work, so not everyone can stand it. If everyone survives, then I think there is a chance that they will show a good result.
Viktor Petruk is one of those who are ready to pursue their goal to the end. He believes that wrestling not only develops the body, but also hardens the morale.
From my very childhood, my objective has been to become an Olympic champion. I began training when I was a child. My brother brought me to a gym, and later the coach saw something in me.
After some sparring on the mat, the training continues. Now the wrestlers are preparing for exercises with 16-kilo kettlebells, 2 hours daily. This is how the champion's character is being tempered. Reported by Nick Starkov, UATV News.
In Ukraine, in the Khmelnytsky Rehabilitation Center, circus animals from Belarus are being rescued from exhaustion and dehydration. Their owner brought his camels, rams and poodles here. The man is Ukrainian and he used to work with circus animals for a long time. Due to the situation in Belarus, the man returned to his home country. Our correspondent checked how the four-leg performers feel.
His hump has fallen and the skin got rubbed, but now the animal is being treated with drugs. The 10-year-old camel is already standing on its own, but a few weeks ago the vets thought he would not survive. Specifically these camels, I thought this camel would die. He was so dehydrated and weakened, we had to do injections. There were other animals in similar condition, an alpaca, ram and 5 poodles here. Now all of them are in the Khmelnytsky Rehab Center for Wild Animals. Serhiy brought them here from Belarus. There he was working as a circus manager for almost 10 years. And at the same attraction these animals acted as artists. The man is a citizen of Ukraine. Because of the current situation in Belarus, he returned to his homeland. But it is forbidden to use animals for entertainment here. Serhiy has no funds to feed the animals. So he decided to put them down. But the animals got a second life. When they arrived, they were eating non-stop during the first week, and they ate a lot. Now we are giving them proper ration, vitamins. The condition of his new guests angered the director of the Ukrainian Rehab Center. We try to prevent animals from doing those things that they used to perform while working at a circus. No more jumping, dancing and anything like that. They will just live their lives. 10-year-old poodles are considered too old for performances. Their former owner wanted to put the dogs down. A new spacious room will be built for them in the center. If there are people willing to take the animal artists home, it will be great. The staff of the center is looking for a life partner for alpaca and ram. Camels have started a new life. Let's hope that next year the animals will have babies. Reported by UATV News.
That was our final story this hour. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter pages.